Sup, y'all. I am your host, Tayler Onion, and this is Hang Time, where we focus on amplifying the stories of women in sports. This episode is part 3 of our 3-part series with BSN SPORTS and their Surge program, and we are back this week with 4-time Olympian, 10-time Olympic medalist, and the winner of multiple NCAA championships, Allison Schmitt, who also serves as the Chief Empowerment Officer for the Surge program. Allison, welcome. Let's get some hang time.
Hello. Great to be here. Let's hang out.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's do it. So I would love to start actually back. I mentioned some of the accolades you have and the work that you're doing with Surge, which we'll get to absolutely today. But I want to start back in your collegiate days. So you were a student athlete at the University of Georgia, Bulldogs.
Go Dogs.
Yeah, there you go. I want to know just how was your student athlete experience there? What was it like in Athens and to be a student athlete at Georgia?
I would do it all over again. I absolutely loved my experience. I grew not only as an athlete, but just as a person. I mean, it's your first time on your own, going to college, learning a lot about yourself and really learning how to fail, stand back up, succeed, be a part of something that's much bigger than yourself.
Absolutely. College is so good for so many of those lessons. Is there one that kind of stands out to you at all in your time at Georgia?
I would definitely say time management, which I learned a lot growing up and through high school sports, but it really made a difference in college sports is that time management and commitment, because there are so many different ways you can go and different activities that you can participate in, but really staying true to why you're there, what you want to do, what you want to get out of it, surrounding yourself by the people that you want to be like is so important. And so really understanding what that commitment and time management looks like to be the best you in college and when you get out of college.
Absolutely. Can you think about, so you're mentioning this idea of kind of surrounding yourself with people who you maybe want to be like or who you emulate. When you think about back over your career, is there a person early on that you were, whether it's a swimmer or just another athlete, that you were like, that's who I want to be, that's how I want to model my athletic career?
I wish I could say one person. I feel like it's not even just the athletes I was around, it was supporting people around me. And ever since I've been a young girl, I really looked up to community. I loved community. I really was a person who understood that these moments are going to be memories. And it helped me throughout my swimming career because I was able to look at different people throughout my career and get little bits and pieces from them to help shape who I am today. And I think everyone can say that they have their strengths and they have their flaws. And to be able to take different strengths and flaws from so many different people who supported me throughout my career, and even listening to other people, I think is a huge skill to help yourself get better, but it also helps others feel seen and heard, which is important as a human being.
When you think about your career in general, and swimming, kind of like gymnastics and like several other Olympic sports, is, I'm going to use the word unusual in the way that you can be an Olympic athlete before you've ever stepped foot on campus, which I think was the case for you, right? With Beijing, or were you already at Georgia at that point?
Yes, so Beijing was between my graduation and of high school and starting freshman year.
Which is insane. Do you remember any of the feelings you had? Like you walk your high school graduation, you go to Beijing to compete in the Olympics, and then you start your freshman year of college that fall. That feels like an insane summer to me.
Yes, definitely a whirlwind. I feel like my whole life has kind of been a whirlwind. I think a lot of people, no matter what phase of life they're in or what they have done in life, their passions in life can really relate to that because life goes so fast. And what's the saying? The days are slow, but the years are fast.
Yep.
Which is such a true statement. And you really realize that when you get older and older. But I actually missed my high school graduation because I was on an airplane coming home from a swim meet in California. I was supposed to make it back for the graduation, but it got delayed and I missed my graduation. So talk about sacrifices. There were a lot there, but I mean, looking back, I'm very grateful for those sacrifices and the support that I had during the times where missing your high school graduation may seem like the end of the world, but looking back, it's just a small piece of life.
Yeah, did it in the moment? I'm sure as at 18 years old, you're like, dang, what did I just do all that academic work for?
I'm not gonna lie, I was actually kind of happy that I missed my high school graduation, so I did not have to just sit there for hours, people walking through. But I did really appreciate my college graduation because I had never experienced a graduation.
True, yeah. So then you appreciate that even more. That's awesome. So in thinking about the four Olympics that you competed in, so you were in Beijing in 2008, you were in London in 2012, Rio in 16, and then Tokyo in 2020, which is actually 21. How did each of those experiences differ? And I would love to hear as well if you have a favorite Olympics or Olympic location.
Yes, they are so different. So many different stages of life during each of those Olympics. 18 years old, obviously fresh out of high school, just a wide-eyed girl who was still kind of learning her place in the world. And in those moments, I listened to other voices around me, telling me how big the Olympics are going to be, how many people are going to be there, how I'm supposed to feel. And so I went into that Olympics just wide-eyed and listening to those voices, which led to a performance that was ninth by 1/100th individually, and then we got the bronze on the relay. So understanding what I experienced in 2008 really led into the 2012 Olympics, which was about redemption in a way. Also just performance. Really seeing what I could do. I redshirted my senior year of college for those Olympics, trained in Baltimore, just solely focused on training, and had the best Olympics out of the four at that Olympics. So consistency and showing up really proved to work in those Olympics. And then there's 2016, which from 2012 to 2016, I did not make a national team, which is like a Olympic team throughout those times. They're just not at the Olympic stage. And so that was mostly about proving that I'm capable of making it back up to the top. And that's what I did. And really understanding myself as a human being, not just as an athlete, but as a human, and really going in full force with my support staff, my friends, my family, my coaches, my teammates. There are just so many people that helped me get to that spot. And then 2021 was really about leadership, swimming with love and joy, and enjoying that for the last time.
When you step back and look at all of those years now and kind of the ups and downs that you had throughout your career, is there a moment that stands out to you as something that you're most proud of?
I would say I'm most proud of myself as a person developing through those stages. It's not about the accolades, the medals, they get dusty, the records get broken, but who I became as I stood back up after each of those failures is really what I'm most proud about. And that's a lot about what I speak on now, because I completely understand what it feels like to be invisible for a spot of your life. I understand what it feels like to be at the top and failing, and reading all of that in social media and in the newspapers. But to be able to speak my experience and hopefully relate with someone else and help them through their struggles is something that I'm really passionate about.
That is the perfect segue for what I want to get into next, which is your work with Surge. So you are, I mentioned, the Chief Empowerment Officer for Surge, which is not a typical CEO acronym that we hear there. So I love it, first of all. But you've found sometime between all these athletic achievements we've talked about and finishing your degree at Georgia, you go on to do the Master of Social Work. And even just in the way that you've talked about your career, kind of managing these ups and downs and thinking about the pride you have in developing in who you are as a person. that's exactly what is happening through the Surge program, but for the next generation of young athletes. So tell me how you got connected with BSN Sports and with the Surge program to begin with to become their Chief Empowerment Officer.
Can we petition to change all CEOs to Chief Empowerment Officers?
I would love that. I think we should start it right here.
Yep, let's go. This is our first petition.
Right.
But I'm just joining the team of Surge and really understanding what the platform that they stood on and feeling that synergy between the two of us is why I got connected with them. Coming back or having my experiences as an athlete, going to school, learning the science behind what I had experienced, what others experienced. And to me, my master's kind of was like common sense because it was a lived experience.
Okay.
And so what I want to do with my master's and with that education is really help empower athletes to use their voice. And so partnering with Surge was a great way to build upon that and really help girls use their voice because it's so often lost in sport, especially when you are coached by male athletes and your personality might be like, okay, I know you have been there, so let me step down, even though you're not really understanding my body.
I think the work that y'all are doing at Surge is, again, so important because it's rooted in empowerment. It's rooted in confidence. You obviously have folks who have the social work background like you have. You've got Aaron, who we had on and talking about his background, with curriculum development. Tisha, who we'll have on as well, who talks about, her time as a coach and an athlete as well. And so you can see, again, all the angles coming together of how this stuff works. The program, obviously, like you want to be involved because you want to help the next generation of these athletes. In your role as Chief Empowerment Officer, what does that day-to-day look like? What's your involvement with the program? How do you show up for that in that space?
Using my real life experiences with the social work, I definitely learned that through my internships as well, is that there is so much that we learn from a book, from the science, from what education tells us. But at the end of the day, we are humans and we're not robots. And so we have to understand how to balance the education aspect of it and the real life aspect of it. And so I really make sure when we talk with the team to have that piece, to understand at the end of the day, yes, we are still humans with feelings. And some of what the book says might not always work that way. So it's been really fun creating curriculum with the team, with that in the back of my mind and understanding that aspect. It goes back to my first therapist session as I was attending it, and the therapist said to me, okay, well, you have an option. You can either quit tomorrow or you can go back to practice. And I was like, well, yes, I guess that is an option, but like, what's helping me in this situation? Like, I'm not going to just like quit tomorrow. I have NCAAs in a week and a half and I'm the captain of the team. Like, that's not an option. So to be able to create the curriculum with Surge that offers a more inviting and empowering atmosphere and environment is really empowering for myself, fulfilling for myself. It really fills my cup, but it's so much fun to see the team also put all their energy into creating that space for the next generation.
What do you think are some of the biggest challenges? So we know, maybe I'll share a little bit of data here, and I think I talked about this with Aaron too, but we know that young girls are dropping out of sports at 2 times the rate of boys for all kinds of different reasons. What do you think are some of the biggest challenges that young female athletes are facing today?
I have 2 of them. So the first one, I would say menstrual cycles. Okay. There's that menstrual cycle anxiety, which is so real, whether you're in a swimsuit like I was in, whether you're playing tennis, softball, soccer, hockey, whatever that is. So often girls' uniforming is white shorts. And so to put girls out there when they're starting their menstrual cycle so much earlier and earlier, there is so much more anxiety behind that because at 30 years old, that's embarrassing. So at 10 years old, 11 years old, like that's even more embarrassing because you haven't learned that that's normal. Right. So the menstrual cycle is number one. Number two, I would say social media. Social media, it can be good and bad. The empowerment side is really good, but if you are posting your body in every way and being deemed as beautiful in this one body, and that's all we're looking at as beautiful, then muscles aren't beautiful. Why would I want to look like someone with a big butt? I want to look like this. And so understanding that there's different body types out there and you can be successful no matter what your body type is, but let's lean into our body type more and understand that I'm proud of this body that can do this amazing work in athletics. I'm proud that I can stand up and do 10 pull-ups. And so understanding that there is beauty in having muscles is really important. And that's a good message for social media to portray rather than skinny is beautiful.
I think about that in particular so often. Like I am a former college athlete, played sports, all the sports that I could play. I was playing them growing up. And I'm also somebody who has pretty broad shoulders. And I think about so often if I had had an Alona Mar to look up to or somebody like that when I was a kid, how would that have impacted how I thought about myself? And I wasn't concerned necessarily. I persisted on and kept playing and whatever, but I think about that all the time, right? Like where I put my identity was my athleticism because I was good in that space and I needed the muscles to be good in that space. But outside of that, I had, like questioning all the time, like, oh, all my friends are small and dainty and so there's certainly something to be said for that. How, with Surge specifically, how do you think that programs like the curriculum that y'all are creating and with other programs that are like it, how do you think that can change the trajectory for these young girls in terms of confidence to stay in sports?
I think you said it right there. It gives them that confidence. And I appreciate you sharing your story as well, because I have very similar stories in that way. And as coaches, we sometimes project our own feelings or our own insecurities onto others. And so with Surge, it's learning how to create those environments. Let's listen to the athletes. There's so often that high school athletes and middle school athletes, they will say anything. They will say the truth. But when they're silenced over and over and they're told they're wrong over and over, they stop using their voice. And that's where we see the disconnect between athletes dropping out. A lot of the times as coaches, it is our job to listen. We're not necessarily there for healers, but we're there for support. And sport in general is not something that everyone is going to have the opportunity to go to college and play. Not everyone is going to be able to be professional and play. But what we learn from sport, from the team activities, from the consistency, from the resilience, from the perseverance, from the hard work, is what we bring to the rest of our life. And creating those environments as children is the only way that we can learn that for later in life.
There's such this is probably a conversation for a whole other podcast, but there's such a kind of crazy thing happening with youth sports right now, right? We know the percentage, or at least it used to be the percentage of youth athletes who would go on to compete in college was like something like 2 or 3%. And then beyond that, it's like 0.5% of those will go on to become pro. But the amount so that if you think about that, like 2-3% of the 100% of youth athletes that there are, for it to dwindle down that much. And then if you're saying, well, if you're not going to play in college, what does this even matter? Like, let's focus on something else, which I think is a problem in youth sports right now. But just as you said, like all the things you learn inherently from being a part of sports, that teamwork, that community, the leadership skills, the communication, you miss out on all of those things if you're not a part of it.
It's also the pressure. Like you just talked about the pressure. And if we're able to learn how to perform under those pressures as kids, as knowing those stats that 2% of us are going to go to the NCAA. We're still performing under pressure. And again, that helps us not only in sport, but later in life when real world hits us from every single angle and we're able to still perform and stand back up and do our task at hand.
Yeah, the resilience that a loss doesn't mean it's not the end of the line, right? You got to show back up for practice on Monday after the tough losses too.
An opportunity to get better.
Yes, exactly. It's not always just loss, it's learning involved in that as well. What do you hope, so as you facilitate this programming, as you're out with Surge or even in your own speaking engagements, what do you hope that young athletes are taking away from interacting with you or from hearing your story?
To be authentic, to be yourself, and to be a part of a team. It is so important. And if I love analogies, and you look at it as a puzzle is not complete without every member on the team. And if you take yourself out of that equation and don't give yourself that opportunity to be a part of that team, then your team's puzzle is not complete. So be authentic and join that team. Even if it is scary.
Yeah, which it is sometimes. It definitely can be. I want to sidebar for the puzzle analogy as someone who's recently gotten into puzzles. I think it's perfect, right? Like you need all different kinds of shapes. Puzzles all look differently. I love that analogy for that sense of belonging for young athletes in sports. I want to ask, second to last question here. What is your message to young girls who might be questioning whether they belong in sports?
They'll never know unless they try.
Okay.
And that is so important because in every aspect, we don't necessarily know our passions and know our loves until we try. For instance, I thought I was in love with soccer. I thought I was this next Mia Hamm, that I was a soccer player, that was what I was going to do. And I didn't make the soccer team that I wanted to make. And so swimming happened to be a non-cut sport. And I joined the swim team.
Love it.
And then 20 years later, here I am as a 4-time Olympian. And so really just give yourself a try because you don't know until you try.
I love that. My 5th grade plan for 5th grade Tayler, by the way, was I was either going to become a cartoonist or I was going to go to the WNBA, neither of which happened. And I played volleyball in college, but similarly, right, where it's like, oh, this is the plan, this is what I'm going to do. And sometimes that doesn't work out, but there's so many other spaces in sports that you can fit into.
Yes, and you learn what that path is along the way. Like you said, standing back up and trying again, and you find your path somewhere along that way of saying yes. Absolutely.
All right, namesake of the show, if you could get some hang time with any woman in sports, who would it be and why?
This one is so hard. I feel like, oh gosh, this one is a very hard one. I appreciate every conversation I have with female athletes because I learn different aspects of their sports, how they got into it, and their viewpoint on sports. It's always a different angle no matter who you speak to, and I think there's something really empowering to say about that. And so again, I don't know if there is one person that I can say I want to be on hang time with you, but I appreciate, respect, and honor all athletes and female athletes who have put all their passion and love into one thing that has made them the best in the world.
I love it. I love it. I don't know that we've had somebody who has just encapsulated like basically every female athlete, woman in sports, but I like that answer. It's a good way to not have to narrow it down.
I know. I guess I have commitment issues, right?
I love it. All right. Where can listeners get involved, support? Where can they follow you or the Surge program?
So my handle is AR Schmitty. So ARSCHMITTY. And the BSN Sports _ Surge is the Surge program. And on the Surge program, you can go right into connecting into the Surge program when you click on the links. And it's a free resource, free tools. And I'm like, this is on a gold platter. Here, we're giving this to you. Like, please
Right.
just sign up.
I don't I don't know that we've emphasized that. I was just going to say, I'm not sure we've emphasized that enough throughout this 3-part series is the free aspect, right? Like if you are involved in sports, if you're coaching
Yes.
young girls, if you're coaching young athletes, go look at this curriculum because it's free. It's there for the taking.
Yes, yes, on a gold platter. Here you go for free. Be
On
the
a,
best you can be the best coach you can be the coach best athlete you can be. It's all free.
yep, all the things. All right, Allison. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to join me and to get some hang time today. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, listeners, we will see you back in a couple of weeks. And until then, you can follow along at HangTimeP0D across socials and hangtimep0d.com. We'll see you next time.